Season 2 of Darkness is a 6-episode podcast examining a series of package bombs that exploded at homes throughout the Austin, Texas area in 2018. The bombs killed 3 people and injured 6 more over a period of nearly 20 days, causing fear to envelop the city during Austin's biggest festival. Hosted by Ashley Miznazi and produced by the Drag Audio Production House, you'll hear emotional stories of resilience from the survivors of these crimes, accounts of pain and recovery from the victims' loved ones, and the questions they still have 3 years later. The podcast takes a closer look at the efforts of law enforcement officials who work to stop the bloodshed, with interviews with the lead investigators for the FBI, ATF, and Austin Police. You'll also hear about how the bombings exposed Austin's racial wounds, as members of Austin's Black community felt they were being targeted by the bomber and ignored by investigators. Listen to Season 2 of Darkness on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hey, listeners, and a special hey, hi,
ho,
and hello
hello,
to all you patrons out there. Ben, quick test. For those people that want to support us in perpetuity, because they like the dope shit that we're doing all over the internet, how can they support us?
You could sign up on Patreon inside the show notes.
Give
us $1 per episode, or give us $1 a month. Give us $1 a year. I don't think you can do that, but you could. Yeah, give us your money, or not give us your money, or give us a 7-star review on Apple podcast ratings.
A 5-star. You're almost there.
5-star review on Apple podcast ratings. I'd like 7.
We are going to mug you at an ATM, so get it together. Just kidding. We really appreciate all you amazing patrons out there. We just had one patron join the party. Shout out to Sabrina Thompson. Sabrina, welcome to the family, and you left us a nice little message, so we'll be returning that message as well. But we appreciate you, Sabrina, and all you patrons out there. And speaking of which, we have chosen our monthly giveaway winner, and the winner is... Oh, that's cute. The winner is Kendra Wright. Kendra, we've been a fan of yours for a really long time. I remember you used to hop on those Ask Amber calls. I'm going to bring that back at some point. But now, I can't even sit up straight without multiple cushions and things like that.
Well, you can't really put a wig on right now with your hair.
Oh, yeah, that part too. I mean, I would still put the wig over the braids.
You would find a way.
Because that's who I am.
Wigs find a way.
But Kendra, we really appreciate you. And thank you, everybody out there who is supporting the Sci-Fi Sci podcast. Now let's get started with the show. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Sci under the Believe Podcast Network. It's a podcast about Black science fiction, fantasy, and staying on the same page in our marriage. Today, for episode 79, we watched a film made by Disney. I feel bad calling it a Disney film. There's something about that just don't sit right with me. But we'll talk about that later. We watched the Disney film A Wrinkle in Time, or as my grandma would say, A Wrinkle in Time. And it was directed by Ava Duvernay, who we love through and through. Before we get started talking about this film that was made by Disney, let's check in, Ben. Let's tap in. How you feeling today, baby boy?
I feel amazing. You've started me on a declutter journey that probably won't ever end, and I'm very satisfied.
Why you being fake?
What do you mean? I already feel my life having more time to think, and my brain having more space to think, because we've gotten rid of so much stuff. I've gotten rid of books that I've read and I won't reread. I'm only keeping the books that I'll refer back to. It's great. Today I'm probably going to finish a book and hand it off to someone. It's a great book. It's amazing. And I don't need to read it again, And there's library books too. So,
or if you want to reread it, there's a way to get it back. But books are so heavy. Like when we're trying to move, and they're everywhere. We have many. I'm looking at a stack of library books right now in that corner. I'm looking at books on our sideboard table. Signing up with Ben. Being married to Ben means there are constantly books everywhere,
and I'm constantly reading. It was so funny because we had a big blow up, right? So Amber hired a declutter specialist, came for about 5 hours, and it was amazing. We worked very hard, and I ended up filling 2 like carfuls, like SUV carfuls of things to get rid of. And so I return all this stuff. And I had also gotten like a stack of 6 manga books from the library through the interlibrary loan system called Pluto. I'm showing it right here. Amazing, so good. And I read
Pluto's
manga.
The book, not the system. For those of you who are not watching on YouTube.
And Pluto is the name of the book. And I will like read manga, like eat like candy. How some people eat candy, like your peach rings. And so like I clear out everything and I bring home these 5 books and I take out these 5 books after we spend the whole day cleaning and get rid of stuff for this baby, and you lost it. You fucking lost it. You're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? We just spent the whole day. And I was like, they're just library books. And I realized that it was a failure of philosophical like mind setting,
Well, it not even 2 hours after the declutter specialist left, you were bringing more clutter into the home. And people can say like, well, Amber, it's just library books. Ben thinks he owns library books. That's the one. The one is that Ben recently returned some library books that he rented in, I don't know, August maybe of last year. You read them, but then they stay with us, collect dust, and thankfully Chicago doesn't do late fees anymore, or we'd be paying those. So there's this level of like, it's like when you borrow a top from a friend. That's how Ben looks at the library. It's like, am I going to give this top back to my friend? Maybe I will, maybe I won't, but it's here and I didn't buy it. So technically it's not a big deal. But after spending hours decluttering our home, he had the audacity to come back from the trip where he donated all the things with more, in my mind, what was clutter, because we are just so close to having this baby that it's like, where's all this free time that you feel like you're going to have to just sit and read? Like, we need to be in super baby mode right now. And then to add insult to injury, you didn't just get 1 book, you got 6. So it was like, I really hate this bitch. Like, what? You were like, well, she gonna be mad anyway, so I might as well get 6 books instead of.
I also got 2 DVDs that I didn't want to rent on Amazon Prime.
It's like, for what?
Well, one you can't actually access at all. Let me show you this one. This is actually like a fantasy, an African fantasy.
They can't hear you. Just talking to them.
Oh yeah, this is an African fantasy called Yeleen. And you can't stream it anywhere. It's almost like Sankofa. And so I've been wanting to watch this forever. And so I was like, oh, yeah, I'll also get this on interlibrary loan. And they sort of all came at once. And it just happened to be that the day I picked these up was also the day we were decluttering. So that was not a good day. And I was like trying to justify my behavior. And then later I went out with some drinks with some work friends. Mm-hmm. And one of them wanted to be a declutter specialist, and she tore my ass a new one.
Yay, thank you.
She was like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
If you are someone who works with Ben, I feel like the ladies at Ben's job always gather him. I really appreciate that, because it's not just about the books. It's not just about like their library. It's not just about like, but he's a reader. You knew that. It's really about like, I had a moment where I was like, we don't need a declutter specialist. We need a therapist that he feels.
It's a mindset thing.
That he feels the day that we parted with things, the itch to bring things back in. And as somebody who's been,
I think books specifically, it's a book.
But you also brought DVDs in. So it's not just books. That's the one. The two, let me finish the statement.
Fair.
As someone who watches a lot of reality TV, I've seen hoarders. Okay. So I've seen when the people come to take the hoarder person's stuff, and there's this breakdown of like, but what if I need this? What they justify every single thing. And that's what you do with clutter, Ben. You'll be like, well, that was a candle that a student who I actually hated gave me 5 years ago at this school that actually is no longer existing. So I should keep that. You will find a way to be like, oh, well, that is a picture of a rattlesnake that I stepped on almost 12 years ago. It's like, okay, but do
one of those
need
statements
this in
are
our
true.
Daughter's room? Like,
one of those statements are true.
And then to really add insult to injury, I went in our child's room. You know, we're prepping for this beautiful little lamb, and I saw some of Ben's books on her shelf. And that's when I just went ape shit. So I just, then I ran to Sonic and got a strawberry slushie like I do, and I felt a lot better. But I will not, and this is what Ben also does since we're talking about all our problems. You will justify your bullshit with the baby now. You'll be like, well, this is a book I can read with her. Oh no, bitch. Don't do that. She's not reading 6 manga books. These are for you. You might read the book to her, but like that's not going to be the new scapegoat. I'm sure people who are like parents are like, oh yeah, that's what they do. Like you'll be like, this isn't even for me. It's for me and Wild to read together. No, it's for you.
Fair. In other news.
But you got your shit together, so.
In other news, I admitted I was wrong. So, yeah.
What did the ladies at work tell you?
They told me that on that day, I should have kept the books inside the car. I should have hid them from you.
For me for 24 hours.
Her point was that I had betrayed like the philosophical mindset, the mindset to remove things from the house, and bringing things in the house was a betrayal of that, unwritten agreement, especially after you spend an entire day and a fair bit of money hiring someone to help you. And that just was not fair for you. And she...
it made me feel like the minute this woman left, you're going to go back to your old ways. Right,
exactly.
So there's a level of like,
and they said the same. They said the same exact thing to me. It was so fantastic to interact with people who are very different than you, which is why I think everyone should have friends and people who are different with you and go out to drinks with them occasionally. So it was cool. So what happened?
They got in your ass about that stroller too.
Oh yes. So I work in a field where I think 90% of the people who work there are women. I think there are out of 40 or 50 people employed at the school, maybe 6 are men. So
I think you've said you were a teacher on the show before.
Yeah. As a teacher,
why are you talking so?
Well, I think people don't.
Mysterious
I think
field.
people don't. No, it's not a mysterious field. Yeah. I am actually a stripper, and about
I was like,
40 out of my coworkers. It's not a brothel. I know. Well,
I'm just saying you're like, there are 90% women and just a
I think
few
the
men.
tips would be a little bit better in the brothel, to be honest. God.
I'm only saying that because we've been watching Game of Thrones, so I'm just like,
oh yeah,
I got whorehouses on my mind, obviously. But keep going.
So yeah, oh yeah, and then a lot of my coworkers have had children, and it's always fun talking to them and trying to get their perspective. And one of them said, you need to get a doona. I was like, okay, what's a doona? And I had sort of cut the corners with a cheaper stroller, and not a cheaper, but a stroller that was not as expensive. And this one,
yeah, that's what cheaper means.
And
it's not cheaper, it's just not as expensive.
So I decided to buy this stroller called a doona that collapses into a car seat as well. So that's coming in, and so I'll have the running stroller, but then I'll have a very compactable car seat with as a stroller. It'll make traveling way easier for us as well. And then we'll have all the back room.
Strollers.
We have 2 strollers. One for running.
For one child.
Well, maybe you'll get pregnant right away.
Let me
Irish twins or something?
No, we're not doing that. Let me keep that declutter specialist number on file, because this is how it starts. You walk into the store for 1 pair of shoes, you leave with 3. You know how you are. But I love you, and you heard me out on that issue. And you've, as we've said week after week, you've been stepping it up, because today, this will probably be the last episode that Ben and I, before we become parents. We are super excited to give y'all some content the rest of the month, because we did some interviews, but this will be I just can't even sit up past an hour. I got the pillows behind me, and this baby is coming, but it's just so... I was telling Ben this earlier. It's so hard near the end, because everybody is in your face being like, but just surrender, but just accept that it's going to happen any day now. It's like, That's so easy for you to say. Like, I feel somebody's full head on my bladder right now, and it's very challenging. And unless you like, I'm not trying to be like, unless you've been there, you don't know. But that's really how it feels. It's like near the end, the most frustrating thing to hear is everybody being positive around you. You're just like, I need you to just let me vent. I need you to just let me lie like an animal. Like, think about what an animal does before they have birth. They're just lying there. Like, I am an animal.
Sure.
So let me just lie and moan and wail, and you've been doing a great job at that. Ben hasn't been coming at me with the toxic positivity, but like, other people have. Anyway, speaking of not toxic positivity, what we got, Ben?
We have an Apple Podcast rating. Someone wrote something very nice about us.
Would you like to read it, or you want me to read it?
I'll read it. Let me get in my voiceover voice. I knew I liked sci-fi, but now I realize I truly love it. That's the title. This is a 5-star rating. So boom, I've been obsessed with you guys since I first saw you on TikTok, and I just figured I would give the podcast a try because it's a favorite pastime of mine. A few months later, and I'm still here. Love emoji. As a team, you really do a good job with balancing love/life with a true passion for the sci-fi world. I'm not a horror fan, but I love to hear the breakdowns through your eyes. Keep up the great work, and I hope Wild knows her parents are super cool. Thank you, K Natural 101. That was really nice and inspiring.
Y'all just don't understand how that be making a bitch feel. And Kay hit me up on Instagram, so appreciate you, sis. And y'all just keep those Apple Podcast ratings going. Ben's gonna read them to me when I go into labor. So
I will.
Right.
It'll be very inspiring.
It will just be like, baby push, but also K Natural 101 says, I love the show. So now we're gonna go back to that little
The patrons
segment.
have a point.
That little segment where we talk about how the patrons got a point about something. So I'm trying to do a better job just talking to the patrons. And so to the patrons and to Instagram, I asked last week about what was that drink that you had as a 21-year-old that you used to order. I know you said it was like a stout, and I said all those sugary, like Moscato, Amaretto Sour, Sex on the Beach, and all that. So what is something that the patrons said we should share and talk about? This was based on last episode where we watched 20-something on Spark Shorts.
Yes. And so Taylor wrote Bel Air and beer. And I was like, what? I had no idea what Bel Air is. And I went down a crazy Google hole, like learning about Bel Air.
A Google hole.
That's
not what I thought you were about to say.
I went down a Google hole. I put my head up into a Google hole and looked around and just swiggled and licked and slobbered the information. You ready?
Oh.
You ready to hear what I found, Amber?
Please, because that visual is killing you, girl.
Okay, so basically, there's this whole thing, obviously, where rappers take a drink and they popularize it. And so Bel Air became like really popular in like 2015 because Rick Ross made it a point to rap about Bel Air every so often. It's like a sparkling wine. And so here's a Rick Ross line. Bel Air on my table, I talk it, then I live it. Walking around in my motherfucking Bel Air rosé. Cartier frames, Bel Air on my breath. Sipping rosé with rosé, and it's Bel Air. This is all. Just how many times can you say Bel Air?
It's like in the contract they were like, you have to say it 6 times, right?
Dude. And it gets even nuts because there was these groups of people called the Black Bottle Boys, and this group included like Lil Durk and DJ Khaled, and they Lil Durk,
and DJ Khaled.
And DJ disc jockey Khaled,
Fool,
and they all drank Bel Air. It was like this movement to have everyone drink Bel Air.
Now they know their asses ain't drinking Bel Air. That's so funny because after the Oscar slap, which we will not talk about, because I think everybody is tired of the conversation. I mean,
I don't even know what you're talking about anymore.
Right. But I think we've heard the word Bel Air all week, referring to the Prince of Bel Air. So it's really nice to sort of like reframe that. But I have never drank Bel Air, so maybe after this baby comes, we should give that a spin.
Yeah, and listen to some Rick Ross as we drink.
Sure. Not young Richard Ross.
You ready for a break? Ready for a pee break? You gotta pee. She's gotta pee like every 16 minutes on the dot.
You know my heart. Let's take a quick
And your
break.
bladder.
And my
I
bladder.
know your heart and your bladder.
Your child is kicking me. It's like I'm looking at you, but I hate you, you know. But I kind of felt that way before the Let's take a break. And we're back, and I'm black. So we watched. We had a listener suggestion. We tried to ignore the reviews, and we decided to watch the beloved
Adaptation.
Thank you.
No, the beloved, nope.
Blood.
We decided to. How can I put beloved? We decided to watch an adaptation of a beloved book.
Yes, A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline Lingle. And so, and I think we all read A Wrinkle in Time as kids. Did you read it?
Yeah, and I read the other books as well, which I don't remember the name. But I remember how they made me feel, which was the world is so big and vast. And yeah, it was fantastic.
So, Ben, why don't you give a quick summary of the, I guess, movie and book, and then we'll get into some essential questions. And
Sure.
We'll do our whole shebang. We're going to be diplomats about the shit, but
Yeah.
but it was rough. We will not, I cannot live a lie. So go ahead, babe.
Basic summary: a physics father discovers a way to bend time, and
I'm sorry. What the fuck is a physics father?
a father who's a physicist.
Got
A
it.
father who is a physicist discovers a way to bend time.
That's funny. Like my dad's a postal worker, so that would be like you say a postal father.
A postal father who's gone postal.
Sorry, I cut you off. That was just funny to me.
Perhaps our explanation of this might be as worse as the movie. He's disappeared, and his daughter, an adopted son, goes searching for him, and also some kid named Calvin from school. They are assisted by these like universal fairies, and they have to battle some nebulous evil called the It.
Correct.
Also referred to as The Darkness, not
Correct.
the band, which is playing in Chicago soon. The Darkness.
Focus.
Okay, that's the summary of the film. That's all I got.
Okay, so here are some things that we thought. You know, it's funny because nowadays a telltale sign of something potentially being a train wreck is an all-star cast. You know, it's like this is too good to be true, and then you're like, "Yep, it is." So, what we really looked forward to were the three fairies, right? Mrs.
Yep.
Whatsit, Mrs. Who's It, and Mrs. Which, and they were like a big part of the book as well. I remember as kids, and these three women were played by Mrs. Whatsit was played by Reese Witherspoon. I mean, when have we ever seen her choke? Just this film. Well, she
Sweet
did choke.
Home Alabama. Well, some people love
You
Sweet
better
Home
get
Alabama.
your ass out of here. I love Sweet Home Alabama. You don't like Sweet Home Alabama?
I've seen it so many times that it starts becoming
That's 'cause you love it.
meaningless.
You don't like Sweet Home Alabama? What's your favorite Reese Witherspoon movie?
That's the only one I can think of.
What? Ben. What?
Oh, probably Walk the Line.
Oh, that's another good one too. But Legally Blonde, that's like a given.
Oh yeah.
But
Also, Legally Blonde 2 was terrible as well.
yeah. Oh yeah. I'll give you that. But Reese Witherspoon, she don't miss, and this was a miss. So Reese Witherspoon played Mrs. Whatsit. Mindy Kaling played Mrs. Who's It, and Oprah Winfrey played Mrs. Which. Did I get those right?
I think so. Oh, she was also in Mud. I really liked Mud.
Right. Well, and we love Mindy Kaling. If you're, you know, I love The Office. So that's where we first ran into Mindy Kaling, and she's been doing a lot of great work in comedy, as more so as a writer now than an actor. And then Oprah Winfrey, I mean, she don't miss either. From her shows to her hustle to The Color Purple, Oprah does not miss. So you would assume, and you saw their costumes going into it. So you would assume like, okay, we lobbed it in there because you got three people, but this setup almost felt like a joke. It was like an Indian, a black, and a white girl walk into a bar. It's like it was just like, well, why don't we just do all of the racial checks for diversity, get some big Hollywood names, put them in fabulous costumes, and it'll just come together. And that's just not how shit works ever. And then you have a young Storm Reed, who we now know is a incredible performer, Euphoria and the like, but this was her first movie. And then Chris Pine played the dad, correct? Chris Pine?
Yeah.
Who I know and love from Princess Diaries 2. Yep. So what do you want to talk about some essential questions that the film was trying to answer? Or do you want to talk about like where it went wrong?
Well, I think that was your first impression, that the introduction of the characters were incredibly weak. I think within 20 minutes, I got up and started doing dishes, and cleaning the house, and
Ben don't like to do dishes.
At one point, I was like, "Oh, I have to use the bathroom." And you're like, "You want me to pause it?" Nope. Nope. Just keep letting it play.
Well, okay. Here's a big. Well, this is going to get us into an essential questions because we're kind of talking around a little bit. So the movie centers Meg, played by Storm Reed, and her father has abandoned her, and it's been 4 years since his abandonment. And so they're trying to really do this thing where they're showing Meg as a troubled child. Now, I am a former high school teacher, and you are a current middle school teacher.
And we know what troubled children can look like.
We know what troubled children can look like. So, Ben, why don't you paint a picture? Obviously, you can say the name of the children if you'd like to. Just kidding. But why don't you just sort of describe some behaviors that you typically see out of children that are troubled at school? Any varying level of trouble.
And it varies because every kid is different, but you do have one kind of child who might miss a lot of school, and when they come,
truancy, right?
They're alienated, so they don't really talk to a lot of people. They're very quiet, and their grades drop, like
apathetic.
So and also they're quiet. So that's one group. The other group is they come in. They're very, they're aggressive. They interrupt. They, get into fights. They are rude, disrespectful. They don't have materials with them. And usually it's especially if a kid you start to see a change, you'll see it gradually, or they try to sit next to a different group of kids that they might have started to associate more closely. And so we know what kids who are going through trouble, or they might they might start asking questions, right? They might start asking different kinds of questions. So they might not be disrespectful or anything. They just might ask a question about abuse, or I'm a social studies teacher, so we are learning about Black Panthers, and towards the end of Huey's life, he became a really violent, abusive drug dealer. And so a question might come up from that, and you sort of log that in the back of your mind. Like the kid asks a more probing question. It could be just curiosity, or it could be a reflection of something they might be going through. Anyway, so there are all these alert. And we were watching the Ahem Project, and the kid in there is just a badass kid. Like, he's just a bad fucking kid.
He's a little asshole.
He's an asshole.
He's getting bullied at school and things like that, but there are some... Yeah. He is another one, I don't want to spoil that plot either, but he's going through something similar as Meg, and his behavior definitely has been affected by that. So,
absolutely. And same thing with I Kill Giants. Have you ever seen the movie I Kill Giants? The girl in there is a bully. She ends up slapping the school therapist at one point. And you really see, like, these films, I Kill Giants and The Ahem Project, how a traumatic life event, especially with the loss of a parent or the potential loss of a parent, can really affect you. And we do not get this in A Wrinkle in Time. And I think they're trying to explore this question of, like, what happens when support systems are removed from a kid. And they do a terrible job of exploring it.
Well, because you start the movie really hopeful, actually. There's a little girl, and she's doing scientific inquiry with her father, and obviously,
it's beautiful.
Obviously, for Ben right now, you kind of you were like, oh my gosh,
yeah, it was so cute.
This is literally the life
I
dream
of having. The first 3 minutes was so cool.
Yeah, Ben was in his feelings, and so we see this very curious, inspiring child, and then 4 years later, we're seeing a child who is being bullied by people because her father has disappeared. We don't really, air quote, know what happened to him, but he has abandoned her. And so then you're seeing her being bullied. Like, the bullies left a message on her locker saying, like, we wish you would disappear too. It's like, is she troubled or is this bully group troubled? Like, anybody would have a negative response to that. So they did a horrible job showing Meg as a troubled child. And it really did seem like everybody around Meg were way more troubled, from the principal to this group of girls that were bullying her.
Yeah.
And then she had this younger brother who was adopted, who was sort of just like described as being weird but he wasn't that strange. He was a smart kid, but it was very clear that the director or whoever wrote the screenplay or whatever had just not been around children or just were not aware.
Well, that's not true, because the screenwriters are really well known. One of them did the Frozen movies. Like that.
Yeah, but they know. Right. Well, okay.
So they know.
I was about to say, ain't no kids in Frozen, but I guess
they are, but it was written for kids, and they pull kids in. Like the screenwriters are amazing. Ava DuVernay is amazing. So I'm sort of just questioning where this film went wrong.
But you know what? Here's the thing. When I think about it, Ava does, this sounds really mean because I don't want to put her in the Lena Waithe category, but she does drama and trauma really well. Like, is that fucked up to say?
Well,
like,
it's traumatic to lose a parent. Like, why? How?
Yeah, but we didn't experience the effect of that trauma as an audience member. Whereas, look up Ava's resume. The last couple things she did, When They See Us, which was incredible. 13th was incredible. Selma was incredible. So she does Black people, resilience, and sadly, trauma. That is, she's in the pocket with that. You know what I'm saying? And not in a way that, in a restorative way, I'll say. Mm-hmm. I think, which in the past, the criticism of, we talked about them, the criticism of Little Marvin and Lena Waithe is like, y'all just haphazardly discard Black bodies and show struggle love, whereas Ava has more intentionality when she does those things, I will say. But this Disney kids movie just felt very out of left field for her.
She's also, she's doing another like science fiction show right now, Naomi. She's the co-creator on that, and that's gotten like rave reviews. So it's nice to see that someone really talented could have a terrible, awful flop.
Yes, and
that's
she's
like
allowed
inspiring.
to have that.
Yeah.
We're all gonna have a flop. But when I think about, sometimes what these film companies do is like, look, we'll just get a Black director, any Black director, give them half the budget, and then go forth and conquer. And that's kind of not what happened here. I think she still had like a $100 million budget, and it just didn't do well. The soundtrack wasn't even good.
Yeah,
I was like, the music could have carried y'all halfway, or I was like, I've never seen Reese Witherspoon miscast, and she was definitely miscast in this. Mindy Kaling, you got a comedian who didn't tell one joke.
Yep.
What the hell is going on with y'all?
Or in the person who did the music, he did the music for Westworld and Game of Thrones. Ramin Djawadi, mispronouncing his name. So no excuse. I guess like some other themes they're trying to show was this expansive universe, and I'm just tired of how they're showing like quick travel or like where you can move from one place to another. So think of it this way, the ability to bend time. They've shown this image on Stranger Things. It shows up time and time again in like science fiction novels.
Yeah,
but imagine a piece of paper, put 2 dots on one side of the paper, and then fold the paper, and then that's how you can move from point A to point B very, very quickly if you have some ability to manipulate time. And that image shows up during the presentation, and it was just, these monologues were so stupid and so boring, and they tried
boring. Yeah,
it was just boring, and
the world building wasn't there. I was like, I'm watching this, a lot of computer generated, CGI, and I can tell they thought we were gonna feel like we were watching like James Cameron's Avatar. They're like, oh, we did it with this. Look at these daisies. And I was like, Friend, you actually didn't do it with this. Like, this doesn't feel like Peter Pan's Neverland. Like, this feels very just generic and derivative, and we don't even really know who these characters are.
Yeah.
So we're trying to care
or
about them.
what they're trying to stop this thing called the It, and the It is like everything evil.
Oh yeah,
and the way that they show everything evil is the principal of the school where Meg goes to gets a promotion above these other two teachers.
And he's like a black guy and a scientist.
Yeah, and that's like, and they have this emotional music in the background. And then the other image is the bully, Meg's bully, like having a Pretty Hurts moment, like a Beyonce Pretty Hurts moment where she is like not liking her body. And I get it, like, and those things are real, but
they're saying that the It is the most evil thing in the world.
Yeah, it's like this cosmic evil.
Which you could have showed, but it's like, damn, a black man get a promotion at work. That's the most evil thing in the world. Everybody hating on this man, which is evil. They're like slightly tapping on racism and jealousy. But one of the coworkers that was jealous of him was a black woman. So it was like,
well, internalized. What? Maybe we're reading in. We could read into it as internalized racism is a big evil that's encapsulating the world. It was
like the biggest evil of the world is internalized racism. Y'all missed the mark on that, baby.
So they end up traveling to a place called like Casanova or something. Which is the place. I don't even remember. I was probably taking a shit.
Oh my god!
So they move to this place, and this is where I guess the It resides, maybe. And they go into this very creepy suburban home area.
Yeah.
And there are all these children like bouncing balls, and it's very terrifying. But the music doesn't match this terrible image, and I was like, "Oh, you could have had this incredible." Horror moment, and they didn't.
And you know what else? When I think back, that scene was what was the trailer for. Like, if you look up the trailer for A Wrinkle in Time, I remember years ago that was what started, and it was like, ooh, what is this very creepy, like all children bouncing balls and all these moms coming out in the same time in this like, you know, little boxes, white suburbia nightmare. And that scene went the fuck nowhere. Like, it added nothing. It took away nothing. It was just visually stunning. And they thought that it's like, oh, you thought you did something with that. It's like when you see somebody like on TikTok, like really thought they ate that. And it was like, damn, no, we actually wanted more of that. That's creepy. That's chilling. Like, to show that I don't know, like makes everything in this universe the same or something like that. I was like, what was the purpose of that scene? Like, when we look back and think about it. And then in the next scene, there was like a super overcrowded beach. I was like, okay, I can at least get with
terrifying.
that. An overcrowded beach is quite evil.
Like someone getting murdered in the middle of a overcrowded beach. It sounds a pretty terrifying concept. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we can sort of go into the size, which we've already gotten into.
The whole thing is a goddamn size. If you really enjoyed this movie, I would actually like to hear like what parts kept your attention, because you cannot convince me that this movie was easy to watch. Like, if we didn't have to watch it for the show, or maybe if you're a kid, you're like, oh, this is really cool. But I'm sure even your kid tapped out at some point of this.
One of my 8th graders, she read A Wrinkle in Time recently, and she watched the movie. She loved the movie.
Loved it.
Yeah, I think I think maybe.
What did you ask her? Did you ask her like? What
I was like, I asked her. She's like, oh, I just loved how it like explored like all this like weird magical world. And I think if you've never been introduced to like cosmic horror, so there's a cosmic horror element to this. I think.
Explain to me what cosmic horror.
Cosmic horror is the eldritch, the thing so imaginally evil that it defies any explanation. So H.P. Lovecraft was the master of that, creepy, crawly things. And so the whole a moment when they're inside the brain and you see the tendrils and stuff, that's an element of cosmic horror. And I think if you're also a middle schooler who, feels bullied, you feel alienated, you could really see yourself in this. And I think Calvin and Meg's, loves. I mean, there's nothing to get to, but I think their love story might, mean a little. And if I could see why an 8th grader would like it.
Interesting. You're also saying an 8th grader who has not seen this before.
Yeah, maybe if they haven't seen this before,
But we were the kids raised on like Labyrinth and Harry Potter.
Yeah,
so
Labyrinth,
it's hard
Harry Potter.
to top like it's like you actually could have done what that did.
I think watching I Kill Giants and The Atom Project, I think also because it's a black girl as the center of the story. This student I'm talking about is a black girl. I think her seeing herself in that,
of course,
as well.
And I don't want to discredit that. That is very important.
There are elements of that I think would attract a child to in this film.
A child doesn't have the wherewithal of like, no, that is like Miss Sophia being played poorly in this. I mean, Oprah Winfrey fit more than the other two Mrs. Who's It, like Mrs. What's It, I will say. But
Big Oprah was cool. She like
Can
really
you explain
tall.
what you're saying instead of because if you haven't seen this, it
Oh
probably
yeah,
sounds like
so
you're like body
so
shaming
basically
Oprah.
these
not Big O.
The universe can sort of fuse itself to Zach Galifianakis showed up.
He was
as well,
great too.
I don't.
He had a man bun and some braids, some feed-in braids.
I guess
was
Reese
like, what is happening?
Witherspoon. So the universe can sort
funny.
of move itself together, and when it does and presents itself as a human, sometimes it doesn't fully know like the right proportions, and so Oprah Winfrey ends up coming first as like a massive giant, like very, very tall.
Which is cool. It could have gave us like, the Alice in Wonderland vibes, but it was just like, oh, she's big. Okay. Like
there was nothing more. Well, I'm ready to warp up the show. I don't know if you're ready to warp up the show.
Oh my gosh. Wait, can I talk about how useless Calvin was?
Oh yeah.
I've never seen a more useless white boy in my life. Like they really, I'm just saying they typically stack these white characters. You know what I'm saying? Like a nice blue-eyed white boy typically has like the best lines and the best like hair flip transitions. Am I offbeat with that?
No, that's so funny.
White boys get all the best lines. Like they're always like the heartthrob in the movie.
Well, maybe consider this film as reparations.
Calvin legit did not have no lines. Like, and
I think he commented on Meg's hair.
Yes,
Like
and that
her
was the
natural
only
hair.
thing he liked about her. He was like, "I like your hair." I was like, "What?" And he was kind of like being weird and smoldering. It's like, wait, so you're gonna just come to somebody's house, have dinner with them? Oh, that's another thing. Sit up. You can't sit up.
I'm almost
You've been running around.
I've been working
Ben is
today.
so pregnant, y'all. Bless his heart.
No, I'm not pregnant. I did do a lot of work today.
You did.
My
You
back
did.
is a little sore, so.
Let me say this. So there's a scene. I know we're all over the place. There's a scene where okay. So one of the fairies break into Meg's house, Mrs. What's It, aka Reese Witherspoon at one
when
time.
we're first introduced to
Yes.
the concept of the fairies, yeah.
And picture this. Picture a stranger breaking into your house. And Meg's mom is just kind of like, who are you? Well, why are you here?
Amber would be like, "Get the fuck out!"
Right?
Here.
I'm just like, be out. Like,
who the fuck are? I'm calling the cops.
I'm calling the cops right now. Like that just was everything felt
Call
so
the cops.
counter to how humans behave when their space is trespassed, when they're troubled. It was like, who wrote this? Not humans, because a human being would flip out, even if it was a fairy, even if it was a nice little redheaded white lady. Anybody would flip out if somebody random came in their house. And I just needed a bigger reaction out of that mother. Like, I was like, there is no world where a stranger could just break into your house and you're like completely welcoming of them. That's the one. And the two, Calvin similarly just comes over one day for dinner. And now he's invited to go to like the edge of the universe with Meg. And literally the only thing he actually likes about her is her hair. He fully fetishized her the whole movie. Well, I can't even say that because he only had about 4 lines. So I don't know who he is, why he's there. They tried to show one scene where Calvin's dad was like, giving him a tongue lashing because he got an 82 on a test. But even that fell flat because we were like, we don't know who Calvin is.
And I guguess that was a symbol of the greatest evil, the darkness, the it.
Yes,
that's the it
the
doing
greatest evil in the world is an 82%.
is getting chewed out by your parents for a low grade, which for a middle school, that feels like the greatest evil. Like
It
this,
does.
right?
Your students do get stressed out
Yeah,
when
they do.
like, when they
Like,
don't know what high school they're going to be put into or
and
whatever.
I bet the synapses in their brain are firing in the same way for people who realizing they're not going to be able to make their rent that month and they might get kicked out of their home.
Of course,
right?
but there's a way to do that. Like, do you remember when we were watching The Sandlot and we were like, this movie did such a good job making the Beast feel like this like 8-foot dog, and then you later see, but they put you in the mind of a child in that way.
Where this film did not.
This film didn't put you in the mind of a child, an adult, an excited watcher. It really did. I saw one article that described it. It was like somebody body snatched Disney with this film because nothing about it felt Disney-esque at all. There was no magic and wonder. It was just bad CGI and poorly developed characters. And I'm really trying to think about when's the last time I saw a Disney film with poorly developed characters. Like, they typically at least get that right.
Yeah, I think this was at a time when like Pete's Dragon was coming out, Alice in Wonderland. Like, they were doing all these. Do you remember this? They were doing all these remakes of these movies. Did you see
Pete's Dragon?
I did not.
I've seen the original one.
I did not, but they were remaking these films with like hyper CGI.
Oh, like the BFG.
The BFG also came. Do you remember? And they sort of all came out together. And like Steven Spielberg did the BFG.
And it was bad too. Go see what they got on Rotten. Not that we care, but
74%. So not
74
terrible.
74 is better than goddamn. I can't see. If you watched A Wrinkle in Time and enjoyed it, please write that on our Apple Podcast rating.
Yeah,
but
this
I
BFG also came out in 2016. So I think they were trying to do something. Pete's Dragon. Yeah, Pete's Dragon came out in 2016. It looked like Disney tried to push out these films. And
like,
A Wrinkle. So Pete's Dragon, BFG, and A Wrinkle in Time all came out at the same time.
And flopped at the box
A Wrinkle in
office.
Time came out 2 years later in 2018. But, within that same era, they were probably being made together.
And there was just like no urgency at all. Like, which sucks because sort of like Interstellar had a similar plot. It's like this father goes away and on this planet, like it's been 4 years, but in the father's world, it might have been like 2 weeks, but they just did not nail so that when Meg did eventually find her father, we were like, It's like, well, we knew she was going to find him eventually. And it wasn't even a fight to the finish. She walks into this room, sees like, oh, hey, Dad, grabs his hand, and they walk out of there, essentially. Like.
Yeah, I guess Charles Wallace was being possessed at one point by the It. I guess they're trying to explore.
Yeah, he had a lot of lines.
Which I remembered, apparently,
Charles Wallace.
in the future books, Charles Wallace is like super important for the universe. Like he's going to be the most intelligent person ever, and if It got control of him, they can use his mind and his power to result in great evil. So that there's this question of really intelligent children being incredibly cruel, or the importance of having really guiding, loving parents and teachers to help very intelligent children. I remember that being a theme a little bit from the books when I read them, but
Yeah, they weren't serving Charles Wallace as a very intelligent kid.
They weren't.
Like, he was fine, but I feel like we know a prodigy when we see one.
Yes.
And he didn't have any of those like awkward social cues, but like
they could have done more with
highly
that.
elevated diction. Yeah. Anyway, with that being said, Ben, why don't you warm up the show?
In conclusion, really talented people can make terrible things, and that's okay.
Thanks, Ben. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Sci-Fi Sci Podcast. Up next for episode 80 of the show, you are in for a real treat, y'all. We interviewed a ghost, a legit ghost. We interviewed Danielle Pinnock of CBS's Ghosts, and she is a riot and a huge mentor of mine. So be sure to tune in next week for this celebrity actor ghostly interview, and we will see y'all next week for the show. Bye, y'all. And we're done. Do.